Hi, I'm Mark Bealin from SearchLab. This is Suds and Search. I'm being joined today by the guys from Digital Third Coast, Taylor Samala, Nathan Pavish, George Slotin. And we're at Dovetail, right across the street from our offices. Shane's been kind enough to tell us a little bit about Dovetail and the beers that we'll be drinking today.
All right, thanks. Welcome to Dovetail. The story of the brewery is that we have two guys that are from the Chicago area. They traveled to Germany to learn as much as they could about brewing. They met there. They actually became certified master brewers there, and they took that idea back and created this brewery. So we specialize in continental European beers. We do everything with a large amount of tradition. We like to say we brew like monks minus the vows.
Again, welcome to the Northcenter and to Dovetail. This is really fun to have you guys on for the first episode of this. I thought it'd be a good idea if, George, if you could just talk a little bit about how Digital Third Coast got started and maybe your origin story here a little bit.
Sure. We were working, Taylor and I were working at an agency together downtown, and essentially didn't really love the direction that things were headed. At the agency, we were bought out by a bigger company, we just thought that we could do things in a better way, in a way that our clients would really appreciate the work that we're doing, and we didn't feel like we had that there. Essentially we went off on our own, started in our home offices at first, for the first year or two. And then, eventually got our first office, kept growing our clients and our book of business. And every year we've been growing. The first few years there was a lot of growth. In the last couple of years, we've still been growing, but at a lower rate, maybe like between 15 and 25% every year. It's been a great journey so far, over the last 11 years now. So,
okay. How big is the agency now, Taylor? You guys, how many employees do you have?
17 of us right now. If anybody's out there looking for some work in the SEO space, we're always hiring for some great people there. Nathan's looking for another paid search analyst, and we also have a graphic designer open. So looking to be about 20 people here in the next few months, and then keep scaling and growing from there.
All right, and you just had your 11-year anniversary, is that right?
Yep.
Yes. So this is an interesting one for me. I think this is a question for either SEO guy. If you've been around that long, you went through some stuff, like these algorithm changes that were difficult for some, and put a lot of people out of business. How did you guys manage Penguin, Panda, all of those, and come out a stronger agency?
I don't know. To be honest, like a lot has changed, but a lot has stayed the same. I think the core, concepts like good content, link building is still an important thing. It was back then, and it still is. So I think like the core concepts haven't changed. Sure, there's been a lot of layers added on top, like site speed and, AMP and like all these new things that are coming out. But at the core, if you're doing all those things right, the content and the link building, and keyword research, all that basic stuff, you're still gonna go very far and do really well in SEO. So I think that's kind of
and I think to go off of that, I think a really cool thing that's come about as a result of these changes over the years is that Google is recognizing when you're an authority and when you have trust. Reviews are important, sentiment is important. Are you good at what you do, and do other people say the same thing? So it extends beyond just building a great website and making sure keywords are optimized. The fact that is a part of the algorithm now is awesome, because that's what you want as somebody that's using the search engine.
Yeah, and just to talk to Panda and Penguin, we definitely, our link building has changed a lot. Like we definitely used to do like what everybody else used to do, a lot of guest posting and the link networks, and we essentially built our business on directory link building back in the day, and that's what was working.
SEO friendly list.
Yeah. We've definitely evolved from that stuff, because I mean, that stuff really doesn't work anymore. Although, you know, I'm noticing that there is some of that stuff that still does work, especially like the link networks. There's a lot of people still doing that. We've chosen not to go that route, and we're doing more of the content focused link building. So, yeah,
we're like a month away from getting these like what's going to happen in 2019 posts about SEO and paid search.
Already here.
Yeah, right. Some people are already off to that. Curious if Jordan and Taylor, if you guys have any predictions or anything that you think is going to change.
Well, there's been a lot of talk lately about this EAT thing in SEO.
What does EAT stand for?
Expertise, authority, and trust. You know, it seems like there's a lot more emphasis being put on that. So I think anything that as a business you can do to build up your expertise and all that stuff for your website, I think is going to go a long way in terms of SEO in 2019.
What's an example of doing that outside of LinkedIn? Is there anything else?
Yeah, reviews. You know, if every company out there saying we're the best at this, and we can do this better than the competition. You have to say that to get a seat at the table, but at the same time prove it. So of course we're only going to put up case studies on our website that make us look good. But having third-party review platforms, having collaborations like this, just showing that you're doing more than just you practice what you preach, and you can walk the walk and talk the talk. So
do more RCS, right?
Yeah.
Real company shit.
I like that one.
Are we allowed to curse on this?
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a big thing for Will Reynolds with Sear and Active for a long time. And, he kind of coined that phrase. And he also said years ago, which is why we changed when Pen and Penguin came out, like there are hundreds of people that have doctorate degrees that are building the algorithm. We're not smarter than them. Why do we try to be? So, all of the approaches for trying link networks and trying to cheat the system, it might work, but the day is coming. So, when we look at like 2019 and beyond, what's the new thing? I have no clue. SEO is not dead. Content's not dead. Mobile's not dead. It's not the year of local. It's not the year of mobile. It's the year of like get your stuff in order and build it from there. So that's more of my prediction is, you have to keep doing what works and add on to it as you go.
All right. Do you have any predictions from the PPC side, or is that?
Yeah, I think the biggest change at Digital Third Coast specifically is shifting away from this paid search title, which just really isn't accurate any longer, and moving toward paid media, right? Like as we're doing more and more with YouTube, with CPA, cost per acquisition bidding, with impression based models. They're just pay-per-click and search don't necessarily describe the full spectrum. So I think the companies that are going to do well are going to continue to focus across multi-channels, right? So be there in Facebook, right, for someone who's interested, right? Don't try to be everywhere for everyone, but again, pick the battle and understand that you need to be there for that specific customer, and follow up, right, throughout that process. Understand your funnel and build your marketing campaigns around that.
Cool. What do you have to say? If I was a small business, one of the struggles is like you do have to compete against the Fortune 500 and big businesses. Do you have advice from a paid standpoint for smaller businesses?
Yeah, I'd say the most important thing is to pick your battles, right? You're not going to be able to be everywhere all the time, right? So what's going to be most important to you, and focus there, and then scale what works over time and pull back on what doesn't, right? And as you find what works well, see if there are offshoots of that, and see how you can segment that further to focus really on the key component that's working for you, while stripping back the noise.
I have an odd question. You're a paid media consultant, and you also just live in the world. Have you ever bought anything after clicking on a payday?
It's hard to come to terms with that. I'm not 100% sure.
Taylor never clicks on them, by the way.
No, it's an unwritten rule in law.
I just had, for the first time ever, I bought something off of a social media app.
Yeah.
I bought a hoodie. It looked really nice on Instagram.
I remember. So Lynn, my partner, she recently did the same from an Instagram ad, right? And it was an event for us in our house. right? Because like we avoid advertising, right, ourselves, because I think part of it is just we know what's happening, right? So I think I'm.
But how about like, haven't you ever been searching for something in Google and like the result that you actually want is a PPC ad, and it's like there's nothing else to click on. That's the result
absolutely.
you need.
Yeah.
Are you gonna click on it?
I usually will copy the link and
Come on.
go direct.
I'll do this
I know
too.
that costs the money.
If it's something that I'm annoyed about, like it's my credit card bill, I'll click that ad and charge them $20 or whatever for the click.
Yes, I have had some malicious clicks in my day.
Exactly. Certainly. Sure. They got to pay. One of the things I read recently is if you used to be the number one result in the organic section of Google, it was like incredible and a huge change for your business. But now that first result might be like halfway down the page. The shrinking organic result. Yeah. What are ways you can overcome that challenge? Ways you can advise clients? Maybe start with you.
Yeah, I think that the results are going to differ if you're on, right here at Dovetail. Your results are going to be different than if you're, 6 blocks south of here or in the loop. So if you're still focused on one key phrase and where you're visible for that key phrase, you're not thinking bigger picture. And I think that's a difficult change, because years ago that was the case, and now with the local side of map optimization and understanding where you're at on the bigger map and spectrum, is important. So I think just focusing on the overall lift and growth across landing pages and across sets of key phrases and across the your entire website as a whole, as opposed to one key phrase or one search term.
Yeah, and then you got an opportunity now as a paid media guy to put an ad in everything. You got an ad in the map.
Yeah, I mean,
shopping ads.
I think that is a further prediction we can make, right? Google is going to try to increase revenues through additional ad exposure, right? But that's going to happen by making the ads more useful, right? So I think companies who are relying maybe just on an SEO strategy do need to start thinking about where a paid strategy also fits in, right? Because it is taking up so much on-page real estate. And particularly if their competitors are out there, and if ads are truly getting better and becoming more useful to that end user, right, it's going to be a missed opportunity for companies who are not partaking in that.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of companies who tried PPC and then quit it because it didn't work for them. And then when you dig deeper and you ask them, who did your PPC? And it was like their cousin, and it wasn't anybody who knew what they were doing. And they spent a bunch of money, but they didn't really give it a fair shot. And on top of that, the landscape has changed so much. I think you have to revisit that stuff.
Yeah, I heard we're going to have 7 lines of ad copy this next year. Yeah, Google's rolling that out.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, they did just update with I mean, there is now a third headline and a second description line. So, the outcome of that is the ad results are looking more and more like organic results.
And more ad extensions every day.
Yeah.
And even that was to, in my opinion, emulate the organic search results, right? Site links were originally in organic search, right? And so the more it's looking like organic, the more inbuilt trust from years of Google use are going to influence the amount of ad clicks paid search can get.
Yeah, I had a question for you about, without giving away trade secrets, what are kind of your 30,000 foot view on link building?
Don't try to outsmart Google.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so we create a lot of infographics, and that's our primary link building strategy. And we really, I think the secret to our sauce is we really go after quality, and we really create pieces that are well-researched, well-designed, and we pitch them to top-tier media and get placements, on all the, top-tier sites because of that. So, I guess the secret to that sauce there is just, focusing on quality over quantity. So,
yeah, just hire a data scientist, a content strategist, a writer, a researcher, and a graphic designer, and then somebody to promote them, and you'll be all set.
Simple as that.
Yep.
Yeah. Nothing to it. Another thing I'm really interested in is RANKBRAIN and some of this machine learning stuff that's going on at Google. I don't have a question exactly. Do you have a take on where this could go, or or how RANKBRAIN's changing our business.
Yeah, and I think that's a little bit of a fear of like, if Google outsmarts everybody and puts people like us out of work, is that an issue? And at the end of the day, you still have to optimize your website. You still have to make sure that if you've got great content that Google can learn from and emulate with the answer results and things at the top of the different search results, you still have to have the page optimized so that sort of stuff can happen. So it certainly could pull away from the need for certain types of link building or content marketing, but at the same time, if there's value in a key phrase, like paid search is still going to be there for delivering relevant search results for transactional key phrases. So I think it's just a nuance and something that you learn from and you adapt to. But you get millions of new key phrases every single day, let alone the ones that are already out there. So like people searching on the internet and buying services and products isn't going anywhere. So guys like us aren't either.
So, right, is Google better at selecting the right ad for the right person at the right time versus, the classic system of rotating your ads, collecting data, and declaring a winner in an ad test, right? And so, I think Google is better at getting clicks to the site, right? So click-through rate, if that's your goal.
Yeah.
But there's often a disparity between what Google thinks is good and what's actually good for your business.
When you guys look at a website, how much are these things like SCHEMA and markup languages driving your decisions and making a difference in your clients' work?
We could always spend more time on the technical side, like no question. You could always. One of Nathan's favorite phrases is, it'd be like a fire truck driving around looking for a fire. We could always spend time driving around looking for stuff. But we try to have a nice blend of spending enough time on the technical side while, also focusing on the offsite and the content and the link building side of it.
I guess, spoiler alert, I worked with all these guys 10 years ago at the agency that George mentioned.
12 years ago.
12 years ago? Oh, there's a lot of gray going in our hair these days. But I worked with, you've been known as like an expert paid search, paid media, PPC expert for a long time now. How did you get good? How did you get?
Oh man, yeah, that's a good question. I think I was very, very fortunate when I got started to basically study under some of the best in the industry. So I worked under my direct boss was Ari Sternberg, and I also was trained up by Brad Geddes, who's at a recent conference I went to. He was announced as the grandfather of PPC. So I think very few better teachers out there. He also has just incredible patience and a great way of explaining complex subject matter. And then I think that plus the actual work we were doing, where I would come into work and bang out 12 PPC accounts in a given vertical, right? Like, so I'd come in and across a 5-state footprint, I had 12 different funeral home accounts to create by the end of the day, right? So it's just, I think that repetition, that philosophy behind it, and then, continuing just to practice, stay up on what's working, and developing our own company core philosophy is how we approach these things. And, I think striving to constantly get better and improve what we're doing.
And this is going to seem maybe like an odd question, but one of the things that's been interesting for me is I started the agency like 18 months ago, something like that. And just learning about how many other digital marketing professionals are in Chicago, I think it's kind of like a well-kept secret. What is it? You guys have been here for a while. What is it like to be part of this group of happy digital marketing warriors here in Chicago?
Warriors.
Yeah.
The ecosystem that we're in.
The ecosystem, exactly, yeah.
I think it's cool. I think, like you said, there's a lot. I'm surprised there's not more like conferences in Chicago or like industry events. I think, there's a couple of attempts at that, and actually like Content Jam is probably the best one that I've been to. But yeah, like I know that there, SES used to have a conference here back in the day, and like there used to be more like SEO focused conferences or, more search focused, and there, there's not, I feel like it's a gap. Like, I don't know why there aren't more of those. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of companies out here doing this stuff.
Like right on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have to like having you have to have competition to have a business that can grow. Otherwise, there's nobody looking for you.
Right.
So yeah, having good competitors is a positive, and having especially people that have similar interests and similar livelihoods, and the better we can make each other, improves everything.
All right, so let's wrap it up here. I think if we can finish, just give us one tip about SEO or paid media, and we'll kind of go down this way. So Taylor, you go first.
Okay, then we'll come back to you. I think it's less about SEO or paid media, and it's more about the overall outcome. If you focus on what's the outcome you're looking for, it's gonna be a lot easier to pick how you should spend your time in between there.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to build on that, the underlying principles of marketing haven't really changed. And, the medium by which we connect with people is going to change. So I think focusing on some of those core principles behind what you're doing is probably the best way to have long-lasting success.
Yeah, you kind of stole mine, Nathan. Well, no, I mean, we were kind of talking about this too, but, all the new features that Google comes out with and all the new things that are popping up constantly. I mean, you want to pay attention to that stuff, but don't get too far away from the fundamentals of SEO. Because like I said in the beginning of this, like really not that much has changed since we've started doing this, and the things that still work back then still work today. So I would focus on the fundamentals.
Terrific. Well, I want to thank you guys very much for doing this. It's our first Suds and Search, and I'm really happy Digital Third Coast got to be our first guests. Enjoyed the conversation and the beers. And thanks, Dovetail, for having us and for the introduction. I think I'm going to go downstairs and refill my glass, and then we'll get back to work maybe.
Cool.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.